Hello and welcome to another episode of Function Better. In this episode we dive deeper into Safiya's inspirational journey and more specifically her Taekwondo journey. How she came from being a not very sporty person at 41 to now being a Taekwondo black belt and second dan. Safiya talks to Jonce about the ups and downs of her journey, the importance of mindset, how lockdown affected her training and what she hopes to go on to do next. Hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe and share.
So, Safiya, this has been really long time overdue, but I wanted to talk about an achievement that you reached, a milestone, if you want to call it that you reached now. Tell us about what that milestone was, please.
For those who are into martial arts, they might recognize the uniform I'm wearing. So basically, I achieved my black belt in WT Taekwondo in May 2018, I think. And back in November, I have achieved my second dan in lockdown in my training hall, which is basically this space here, or a bit kind of forward and side, or whatever we can do. Like everybody else, we had to adapt to the new circumstances. But yes, we have worked hard. It doesn't mean that because we're in a home, we're just taking it easy. We worked really, really hard. And yeah, so basically, I am now a second dan Jujutsu World Taekwondo Federation black belt second dan, and also part of the Songmukwan family. For those of you who know a bit more about Taekwondo.
Okay, well, I've put you a little bit of a list, but I'll probably add on to it. And what I really thought we'd do is we'll go through your journey of how you got to where you currently are in your being a second dan black belt. So let's go back to the beginning. All right, tell us about Safiya and your training history.
My training history is really interesting.
Let's go back to the beginning. So like
very beginning.
What you can remember from when you started. What was Safiya all about? You know, growing up and stuff.
Safiya was all about 41 years old, 4 children, all in the last 10 or the previous 10 years. So older mom, and absolutely zero sports experience or fitness or built up. I was not a sporty person, and to be honest, everybody in my family is quite surprised. Mm-hmm. I was doing.
Just to interrupt you, is anyone in your family sporty?
No. We really like. My mom used to say, we don't have the the stretchy genes. We're not stretchy in our family. We're not this in our family. We're not that. I'm just going to lower my screen a little bit. That's it. Yeah. So it's the kind of things that's known in our family. We're not. No one really, even extended family. No one's really like us, super sporty. However, from a young age, I don't know where that came from, but I've always had an admiration for people who were into martial arts, specifically, not just sports, but like martial arts. I was in awe of them, and I thought it was quite fancy, quite. I don't know. There was something about it. You know, you can't explain this sort of attractions from a young age. But I was living in a city. There was, I suppose. And actually, I was living outside in a village from, outside the city, but there was only Judo available. Judo is very, very popular in France. Mm. Taekwondo is as well, very much, but Judo is really the sport that a lot of kids, if they want to do martial arts or whatever, that sort of different gymnastics, they're going to Judo. My younger brother did a bit of Judo, didn't really like it. For me, there's no chance. Grappling, all of that, it was really not my thing. I felt like, because I'm quite petite, I'm only 5'3", 160 centimeters. So I'm really kind of felt like, I can't really do that. But over the years, I met guys. So there was one guy at university who was a black belt in Judo, and I went to see him in the competitions. And And he showed me a few moves, and he said it doesn't matter about your height or your weight. You learn techniques to use your opponent's force, etc. So he showed me a few moves, self-defense moves. Like I could even actually put him on the floor, which I was totally amazed. Mm-hmm. So it's like little things in your head when you don't really realize it, but it gives you ideas that actually what you think is a limitation is not necessarily a limitation. Mm-hmm. But really, fast forward my life in London, working in a company, I was going occasionally swimming, going to the gym, like the kind of thing you do with a friend, would just go and hit some treadmill or whatever, swim a bit. And I always rode horses, but again, I wasn't like anything particular. I took a couple of certificates, like gradings and stuff in horse riding when I was younger, but I was one of, what you could call like a Sunday rider, just for the pleasure of it, not really committed. Mm-hmm. But when, excuse me, when I moved to Manchester and the children were very young, I met a sister who was a Muslim woman, convert like me, from Holland, who was a black belt in Jujutsu, which is self-defense art. Mm. And we straight away I said, please, can we set up a class just for women in a small hall, all confined, and we can just try. And so we started like this, teaching. Then it just disbanded because circumstances, etc. But I really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. How long did you do that for?
About a year-ish or something.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that, a year.
And how did you find that? Because Jujutsu, obviously Judo and Jujutsu, I don't know quite how it goes, but whether Judo comes from Jujutsu or whatever. But
to be honest, what the Jujutsu we were doing were just like a few mothers, and we would grapple for each other or grab it, and it was like we were more or less the same height, more or less the same lack of fitness. So it was really done in a very comfortable setting, where I never felt like I was out of my depth and and challenged too much. But I was challenged from the technique, but like I felt I could do it. And okay, so that then happened. So when at some point when my older two boys were about 5 or something, we moved into an area where a friend of mine was taking her children to a school, a local Sunday weekend club for the youth club, and there was a brother there from Afghanistan who was teaching the little kids Taekwondo, and she invited me to have a look at a demonstration. And I sat down and I was like, really, with trepidation, because I knew how much I loved, but I knew nothing about Taekwondo. And I looked at them, and it was like an epiphany, like a revelation. Seriously, it was very powerful. I was nearly in tears. Seriously, the emotion, the connection. I saw that because they did a demonstration of like kicking the mitt and some, spinning kicks and things. Nice to watch. But when they went into doing their pumse, the patterns, so the combination of moves you do against an imaginary opponent, I remember I was like, I absolutely love this. This is beautiful. I saw it beyond, it was just, beyond just hitting someone or whatever.
Yeah, just the fight and the physical aspect, let's just hit someone else.
Yeah. I've always been, when you look at dancers or ensembles like this on the stage, I always loved watching this, but I never could see myself as a dancer in any way. I did try, but that was like, it was not just beautiful, coordinated, but it was powerful. It had a purpose because you could use it if needed. It was all of that really fitted my personality perfectly.
So you saw the art of it. You saw.
Yes.
You was able to see deep into it, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I sent my children straight away. Send the boys there. That's perfect. It's exactly what you need. Because what you have to explain about Taekwondo first is that Taekwondo means the art of smashing with the fist and destroying with the fist and smashing with the foot.
Right.
So you use both But the different types of Taekwondo, and the Taekwondo I practice, the one we see in the Olympics, is mainly, well, the Olympics is a different story, but that's the one we do. It's not just scoring points. We practice the actual self-defense, the hard stuff, not just scoring points, things on a on the chest pad or a head. And you basically use a lot your legs and your feet. So there's different ways. Like if you are, for instance, a child, or if your child is kind of a little bit not so physical, not so kind of I'm going to go into it, I'm going to grab this and just if they're a bit shy, or it's a great way of doing a martial art without feeling overwhelmed, because you keep your opponent at a distance, and it's all about the mental approach of it as well. How you evade, how you get away from an attack, as much as how you attack.
Right. Okay.
But even more, actually, how you evade an attack. Right. So I found that it was perfectly fitting my boys. So I sent them, and they went on. And then we were introduced to the club I'm with now through that instructor. And the boys started training with him. I'll tell you a bit more about him in a minute. Started training with him more. And then that first club, like little youth club, folded, and we moved permanently to that more established training club. And he had a daughter, because again, at that point, I had my last one was very young.
Was you training at that point, or was it just the boys?
No, still not doing anything. I was just watching and admiring. And I'd already started putting feelers out with the moms, mainly Muslim moms. I said, would you do this sort of training if you could? And they said, yes, but I'm uncomfortable doing it in a mixed setting. Fine. I personally, I would not have had a problem, because as people can see, especially Muslim women out there, or people who want to be modest, if you look at how the outfit is, white trousers, a long tunic, you're properly covered. In Britain, you have no issues with wearing a hijab for training, competition, anything. And even, of course, the world. I've traveled in the world, not the world, but Europe. And I know I can go anywhere in the world with my hijab and train.
So one thing about your, what do we call it, a gi?
No, this is called Dobok.
A what?
Dobok.
A Dobok.
Okay.
Dobok. One thing I noticed with that is you do not have, it's not like it's just
not open.
Over.
No, it's fully closed.
Right.
So it really does not come off or anything. There's really nothing. You really don't find yourself in.
Is that specific only for the ladies, or does the men have that as well?
No, everybody. Yeah. Right. That's the traditional uniform for Taekwondo, the WT really? Taekwondo. Yeah.
That's something I'm learning, because I know you're going to continue with your journey, but Taekwondo is it Korean? Where's it from?
Yeah, so Taekwondo, as I said, is the art of the foot and the fist. And it was set up in 1944-45 in Korea by university students, because Korea at the time was Japanese, was occupied by the Japanese. So a lot of them had gone to Japan to study, and they'd learned karate. They went back after their studies to Korea. And because of the control of the Japanese, nothing Korean was allowed. So they basically brought back karate, but slowly developing it into a Korean karate. It was called Korean karate. And there's different families, kind of schools that got created. One of them that I'm part of is the founding school, Songmukwan, by Byung-ji Kru, Grandmaster. So they started developing different, schools got opened, etc., and they developed what is now the modern version of Taekwondo. 10 years later, when Korea got independence from Japan, they were able to then fully develop their own version. And then there was a split between North Korea and South Korea. So South Korea developed the WT, the World Taekwondo, and North Korea developed the International Taekwondo, which is ITF, which is a different. Still, the principles are the same, the approach is the same, a lot of the moves are the same, but they have slightly different names. and the competition side of things is very different. We wear a full covering, a chest protector, a head protector, helmet, and feet protectors, and obviously shin and arms. And whereas in ITF they have less protection, but they use a lot different moves. It's just a bit different. So that's in big broad terms the difference between the two. Right. So when I asked when my children joined that big club, I asked the instructor if we could borrow his daughter, who was quite young at the time, she was like 18 or something, or 19, and just teach us an hour a week in a community hall nearby, just for women. So we had a handful of women from the localities, plus some of the mothers who were taking their children to Taekwondo, and we started training with her, and my instructor, my now instructor's wife, we prepared for our first grading. Okay. And after that grading, me and another mom and myself, we both thought this is brilliant, great. She's a great fun coach and really teaching us nicely. But really, I'm fed up sitting on a chair watching my children, taking them to Taekwondo several times a week, and I'm sitting on the chair just watching them having fun. And I now know what they're doing, and I know I can learn it, and I need to join. So that's it. That was it. That was basically, the rest is history.
And was the class mixed as well that you was watching with your sons?
Yes. So I remember one of my first. So it was like I had done maybe one grading or two gradings, the maximum. So I was a yellow tag or yellow belt. Yes. I joined my first sort of in proper class there, and it was a sparring class. And there was a long line of like these awesome black belts, like all guys in their 18, 19, 20, maybe 16, some red belts. And we just had to go, and spar non-contact, spar face-to-face. I think there must be 10 of them, 12 of them. So that's probably doing a couple of minutes each for about half an hour. I was absolutely.
But in at the deep end, right?
Sorry?
In at the deep end.
Oh yeah. Especially, when you join this this is why I think it was good to have a gradual introduction to it in a safe environment, because when you join the club, you just do whatever you're told, obviously at your level, how much you can do, but you don't kind of say, oh, I just can't, I have to stop and have a break now. You just have to push yourself, because you just get the break when you're told to get a break. And just little details, right? Yeah. And you don't want to be the one who's like slowing down one of those awesome teens, so you push yourself even more. And this is how I learned. This is how I learned, by being just kept on my toes, literally kept on my toes all the time. And not also, my instructor never really made anything extra special for us. He treated us individually the same as his trophy-winning 18-year-old black belt. When we were just like all the moms, yellow belts. It was like the same dedication, the same focus, the same demanding quality and dedication, from us, focus, but obviously giving us more time to go through and to learn and to progress, etc. Because it's not exactly the same. But we've treated exactly the same.
So going back a bit, you said that at a young age you was in awe and watching martial arts. Was there any particular style that you was watching, or was it in the movies, or was it what? Where did you see it? How was it?
To be honest, I don't remember. I really literally don't remember. I always had. I think what really attracted me was this idea of gradings and reaching that milestone of the black belt. Although I've learned since that the black belt is not the end. On the contrary, it's the beginning of the actual real work when you're mastering
Right.
your
So what I'm
art.
saying is, when you was younger, it wasn't a case of you wanted to do karate or you like kung fu. Because in my time, I remember, and this is probably going to say my age, and maybe some people don't know about this. I think there was kung fu was like the big thing on the TV with David Carradine. Do you know?
No, I think in France, to be honest, in the 80s. No, in the 80s. I mean, I might have watched a movie here or there. I don't even know whether it was Karate Kid at that point. Maybe potentially, possibly.
Because I'm going back before that. Because the other day I spoke to my brother, a couple of days ago, and I said, "What are you up to?" And he says, "I'm just watching Chuck Norris." So you're watching one of these these like gold TV things. He's watching Chuck Norris. So obviously Chuck Norris is a karate man, isn't he? If I remember, is that right?
Yeah. Karate. He does Taekwondo as well.
Is it?
Yeah, he does. I think he does. I'm not an expert, but I think he does like several martial arts. Yeah.
Okay, because as you're aware, I'm familiar with Taekwondo, but I think I'm familiar on the other side, because look, like I said about your how do you pronounce it again?
The Dobok.
The Doorbox. You see, the ones that we wore was just like you flap it all the time. Yeah. So even
that's ITF. That's the International Federation.
And when you're having competitions or fighting, a lot of times
and it's got a black rim. It's got a black rim at the bottom as well. The one for ITF. Yeah. Right. So yeah.
Okay. So you took your boys to Taekwondo. You fell in love with it. You started training. You went to the big club, as we call it. Okay, tell us about your instructor.
Right. So my instructor is called Grandmaster Mark Richardson. He is very renowned in the international scene. He's a former, so he dates back from the 80s. That's when he was young and fighting and winning. And he's let me get this right. A world bronze medalist and a silver European medalist, including 6, 7, 8 times British champion. But unusually, he's actually across the board. He's a champion in both the fighting aspect and the technical aspect, which is not often the case. Then he went on to, then he had a big injury and he had to stop when he was in his late teens, 20s, and he opened his own club. And he started train people who then became international champions, including one who was until recently the ladies Olympic team coach. So he coached people like Jade Jones, the double gold medalist in the Olympics. And he was himself, so Grandmaster Richardson was himself a national ladies team coach. Right. For years, and then moved on, just focusing on his club for various reasons. I won't get into that here, but it's quite humbling and amazing to have someone of his caliber teaching us in Manchester. I mean, it's and he's really dedicated to his art. He doesn't want to call it a sport. He says it's an art. And it's a martial art. So you get the discipline, you get the focus, you get the pushing yourself, you don't give up, the perseverance, the indomitable spirits. These are Taekwondo, the tenets of Taekwondo. And he really does live them, he breathes them, and he really, he has given us that on. And those who don't want to abide by this and don't think it's important, then they just don't last. But what his main aim really is to make us a good martial artist to be able to defend ourselves if it ever happens that we have to defend ourselves. He always says, if someone comes around and just steals your makeup bag or something on the streets or your purse and you go shopping, whatever, I want to make sure that you can defend yourself if someone tries to grab you. You know what to do. You don't fear. You're fit as well to run away first, and you're fit enough that if you can't run away further, you can turn around and defend yourself. And just generally speaking, martial arts really gives you that confidence, that fitness, balance, because you get really strong legs, a strong upper body, a strong core. Mentally, it gives you strength. Well, you get a lot of setbacks when you train at that intensity. There was a stage where a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was training 7 times a week, 7 hours. So that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours each time. I went to do competitions, both fighting and I still do the technical competitions, but the fighting not anymore. I've reached an age when I just find it difficult. My body is just not responding the way I want it to. But I wish I could, but it's just not. It's not something I can do anymore. So I've switched to being a referee. So that's my way of being in the center of the mat with the two opposed. You can have big, strong, strappy man, but they don't scare me. I'm quite quite a bossy person anyway. So I just get in there and give them their penalty points if needed. So I really enjoy doing that a lot. But yeah, I continue to do the Pumsi competition. So in 2014 I was the Scottish champion. I'm British champion, England champion.
That'll be Scottish Open champion, I'm guessing, right?
Open, they're all open, yeah. On each time it's both, competition, fight and Pumsi. And the last few years as well, I've won trophies and like best player and things like that. So things you would have told me 10 years ago would have laughed me. How can I? Yes, you can.
So the journey in Taekwondo has been, what's that now, 10 years you're saying, or 10 years plus? And
9 years, yeah.
9 years, and heading for the 10 years. But there's something special that happened on your second dan, isn't there? Because I know that your whole Taekwondo journey, obviously, when you get people and they give the interview, for example, I was listening to one of my team's footballer, he reached 100 goals, and he was saying, well, I got to thank my teammates, my manager, because I couldn't do this by myself. You mentioned your instructor, but you also got the family backing. For example, you've got your husband that backs you, and you've got the whole family backing, haven't you? We know that your boys kind of dragged you into or led you into Taekwondos, but it's been a journey and had all that support. So plus it was a special moment as well when you got your second dan, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, the thing about the support, it's when you do something like, it costs a lot of money. It does. The gradings, the suits, everything. Once you have one, it lasts for years, but you've got to pay for the classes. If you travel, I went to Portugal for an open a couple of years ago. I went to Italy, and you have to pay for all this. And without my husband, this would not have been possible, because I'm a homeschooling mom. I'm at home. I do some freelance work, but it wouldn't pay for all this. So I'm really grateful. And the children had a kind of an up and down career with Taekwondo. I've got 4 children. The oldest 2 boys dropped when they were 12. And I think it's important for moms to hear this, or parents, parents. When you push your child into something, you have to see the push and pull approach, where sometimes the child needs to be pushed a bit because they're just kind of, a bit lazy. But once they're there, they're really into it. And everybody's got these moments, when you just kind of, I don't want to really go, but well. And but I reached a point where there was no pushing possible anymore. They just refused to go. They were 12. They want to do other things. Okay, what can I do? And there's no point taking you somewhere you don't want to be. It's not fair on the instructor, and it's just not going to be right, generally speaking. So they dropped. My daughter continued, then dropped. And my youngest son, he's the last one. He gets to do whatever he wants. It's just, I don't know why. But he basically only did it for a few years and then stopped when he was little. It's really, really not his thing. And then 2 years later, my daughter came back. So for 2 years, I did it on my own. I was taking the neighbor's daughter instead to Taekwondo. And so it's just to show that if if you have something that you're really passionate about, don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it whatever the circumstances. So again, thanks to my husband's help and support and understanding how important it was for me for my mental health as a busy mom. I was able to continue to go when the children were at home doing whatever they were doing for 2 years. I just continued to do my training. I went through, it was really me. I always say when I go through the doors of the training hall, I just forget who I am. I'm not a mom. I'm not a wife. I'm not whoever. I'm just simply a student, and I'm there to learn. And it's very refreshing. Mm-hmm. And then during lockdown, my eldest son, who's now 19, has been going into like muscle building and weight training and all sorts of things, and watching a lot of MMA. And I told him, look, Taekwondo's here for you. You know what it's about. You know you can do it. You've not done it for 7 years. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Just come back. And he did. But now his heart is into it. He's really keen to learn. He's a technician like me. So he loves to understand how it works and the body, the muscles, the technique, all of that. And he's already done a grading, getting ready for a second grading. So, but he's starting from scratch again because he's waiting too long. So he's got to start from white belt.
And also there's an icing on the cake, because when you got your second dan, someone else was also.
Yes. Just talking about myself. How can I? My daughter came back, but because she only had like a couple of years break, she was able to resume at the level she was at, but she had to basically prepare for a new grading over several months. And she did that. And I could see, she was really a bit more into it. And therefore the black belt was, again, a possibility for her. And during lockdown, she got offered the opportunity of taking her black belt, which for me is like, that's it. That's definitely the cherry on the cake, because when I was taking my second dan, she was there finishing her first dan black belt, and she passed with flying colors. I'm so proud of her. Yeah, because again, so now she's 15, more mature. And I think again, as that's kind of, I like to pass on my experience and about children and their development. I didn't give up, so she could see that when you don't give up at something, you progress. And also because I didn't give up, she was able to slot back in very easily without me having to reconnect with the club, or I was still into it. So that helped her a lot, to just because she was continuing to come and see me at competitions, help out as a volunteer there, etc. She'd never really disconnected completely. And the same with my other children. So if anybody wants to join, they can, because we still have that strong connection. But they've also seen me. I've not given up. I had injuries. I was off. Like now, I'm just coming out of an injury, self-inflicted, nothing serious. Yeah. Just me trying, doing things and forgetting about my body a bit.
Well, I wanted to get into a little bit of that, actually, because as I've mentioned, I did Taekwondo myself, but I never went far enough to become a black belt and go really far into the gradings. I could have achieved a lot more gradings, but I was more into doing the training. So I think I got maybe yellow belt or something, or green tag. I don't know where I got to doing my training. So I think I really respect the fact that you guys was able to continue and reach those milestones and keep going. I mean, my issue is I've done the odd martial arts, but I've never reached that far. But what's important is I have friends around me that's all black belts as well in different things. So I think the moral of the story is, if you don't reach it, make sure you surround yourself with people with black belt, right? So then you're okay, right? Okay, so you're now going to be part of that team. So, surround yourself with a team of black belts and stuff. So I think that's a really good thing. And some of the things that you mentioned, like with your boys and that, they come in, they drop out and stuff, because there's all different obstacles that gets in the way. So I really wanted I know you started on the injuries, but I really wanted to get into obstacles now, do you know, things that you really had to come over? I mean, you mentioned the fact that you've got a good family, your husband supports you, so that's a major obstacle in itself, but there must be other things that really might have got in the way. Do you know, you mentioned your age, you know, you started off later on in life, didn't you, when you wasn't sporty, so there must have been things in the way, wasn't there? You know,
I mean, generally speaking, the other obstacle is your mind. Is how much you let your mind dictate what you can do. And a lot of people don't realize how many obstacles they put in front of them just because of preconceived ideas. I can't do this. No, we're not allowed to use that word. I can't. I will try. It will be hard. I might not reach exactly what I want to do, but I will do my absolute 100% effort. Put my 100% effort in it to reach it, to be as close as possible. So the obstacles are like also physiological. Some bodies are more suited for certain movements than others, because Taekwondo is quite varied. There are certain kicks that I do a lot more easily. Every kick that's front like this, I can't go like super high and like 180, but I can go quite high. Not when I started. Now I can, obviously, because work, you have to work at it. But the more you do, if you want to get good at something, the more you practice it, the better you get. It's like anything, language, maths, whatever. But for instance, side stretching and side movements where, I struggle a lot. I do struggle a lot. It might be the shape of my hip. It might be the way my body's developed over the years, childbearing, all sorts of reasons. And that's when I kind of push myself a little bit too much, and I want to kind of I jump stages rather than kind of wait, hold on a minute, just try and do a little bit like this first before doing like certain stretches or something, and I just wreck my body a bit and then step back. I learn about my body, which is, for me, everything's positive. A biggest obstacle, you learn so much from it. If you win all the time, that's what we say when we go to a competition. If you win, it's great, you're happy. You might learn a little bit of a few things here and there, but when you lose, that's when you learn the most. And it's the same about injuries and setbacks or failing your grading, which shouldn't happen really. If you have a good instructor, you shouldn't fail your grading because he's prepared you properly. But it can happen because you can fail your grading for not putting in the heart. You can have all the technique, whatever, but it's not strong. It's not what your instructor expects of you on the day. But anyway, so yeah, you have things that can limit you like this, and then you just have to work with it. You just have to, but never say I can't do it because X, Y, and Z. You can't do a high kick. You don't have to do a high kick all the time, because what are you aiming for? You can break a knee with a very low kick. You can break an ankle. You can cut someone in half, block their breathing from kicking them here in the solar plexus. You can, kick them in the Adam's apple in the throat, and you stop their breathing. There's lots. Don't have to go so high. It's the technique that is important.
How has lockdown been then? Because that could have been a major obstacle. Because obviously, we're still in lockdown. We've never really come out of it for too much.
Especially us in Manchester, we've not really had a proper break since March.
So how has that affected your Taekwondo?
It affected my Taekwondo for about a week in March, when, like everybody else, we didn't really know where we were going, what was going to happen, how long. So my instructor said, let's just stop, because we can't go into training to a dojang, a training hall. So we stopped. But after a week, he started sending us challenges. How many press-ups can you do in 1 minute or 2 minutes? Send me a video. Do a pattern, send me the video, and I'll correct it. Challenges like this. And then after a while, when Zoom came on, and people started using Zoom, he realized that there was a potential to use Zoom for training, and that was completely uncharted territory. Imagine you're teaching for 40 years in a training hall with the space that that's included, the fact that you have a training partner, that he can set you different target tasks using a met, the kind of handheld device to kick against. How do you do? Well, he just completely, that's experience and talent as an instructor, to completely reinvent yourself. And that's it. Some of us had like a 1x1, like a 2 square meter space to train. And the amazing thing about it, Hamza, is that not only what our aim by doing Zoom classes was, at least we will not lose all of our gains. So in terms of muscle, in terms of some kicks, muscle memory, a bit of fitness, because you can do things on the spot, like star jumps and things. But amazingly, not only did we keep our gains, but we progressed technically more than when we were in a dojo, because when you're in a training hall, there's a lot more different tasks you can do, and there's more variation. You do a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that.
There could be distractions as well, isn't it? You can be more focused, I suppose, on the Zoom as well, because you haven't got the people around you to
Exactly. You have just yourself. There's no one else. So either you do the work or you don't. But so he was able to make us focus a lot on the technique as well, because of the limited space. So you had to think really of your posture, you had to think of your foot position, you had to think of all sorts of other considerations that we didn't have in when you spar with, if your foot's a bit like this or whatever. But when you are in front of a video and you have your mat on the floor, this is like what I'm training on, you can really focus on this technique. How you kick, how you start your kick, how you finish it, how the speed, where you put your foot, where you finish the recovery. And you can do footwork, you can do lots and lots of things. So we just ended up progressing a lot, which was the reason why, for the first time, we were able to do gradings online. And imagine there were kiddies who were like, I don't know, I think the youngest is 6, I think.
Wow.
We've been doing. Obviously, all of them who are training with us, no one is a new beginner. Everybody had done at least 6 months. There were some new children who had maybe done 6 months to a year maximum. They'd never done a grading, maybe 6 months. Yeah, they'd never done a grading, and they just took on this Zoom. I mean, the kids are so adaptable.
Wow. And
on their own, in their bedroom, the motivation, their dedication is so inspiring.
So you're able to keep that community spirit going, that training in a crowd, even though it's Zoom, that was able to keep you going. So tell me something, because I'm quite mischievous with Zoom, right? Because I've had loads of laughs with Zoom when you send a link to someone and they can't link up. So we know your trainer, Mark Richardson, yeah, he's the grandmaster now. But let's just say he never watches this video. Tell us, how was he with the Zoom?
No, great. As I said, we are extremely blessed with him, and I do hope that he will watch the video to the end. But he knows it. He knows what I think of him.
Mark, if you ever come across me, I'm not laughing at,
No, but okay, no. Of course, at the beginning, we had to all work out. Okay, how are we going to do this? Yeah. When you start. People have got sometimes different screen. They have a video camera here, and then the big screen here, so you can see. Sometimes you had like 30, 35 people on screen.
That's a lot to manage, isn't it? That's a lot to
manage.
Because what I find is when people are logging in and they're not too sure and they log in without their things.
Oh, no, we had problems with like disconnection, and then when it disconnects on Zoom, all of the little pictures get rearranged. So all of a sudden it was like, where is?
Was he technical? Because obviously he's controlling. No. He's not really. So he has to learn all that as well. So he was able to develop in himself as well, isn't it? On that side to a certain degree. And what about his training then? What about his teaching? Did he? I mean, in your conversation with him, are you allowed to say? I mean, was it? what was the transition for him? I mean, obviously, if I was speaking to him now, I'd ask him, how is it to be, because to train in a hall, I would imagine is one thing, and then training on Zoom.
Yeah.
How was that? And how did you find the experience training with him?
Well,
I'm asking you from your point of view now.
In martial arts, and when you train generally in martial arts, if it's a good instructor who applies the tenets of Taekwondo and of martial arts, there's a great emphasis in respect towards your instructors and your seniors. So he'd already established this. When we came on Zoom, it was as if we were in the hall. We would start, we would bow, we would say the Taekwondo oath, and we would have to turn off our mute our mic, mm-hmm. and just train. Mm-hmm. Obviously, sometimes you'd have the little ones, they kind of lose focus, and they would start playing with their toys, or mm-hmm. Inevitably. But he was able to just bring them back, or he would kick them out. Mm-hmm. So okay, that's it. You've done your session. You're not focused tonight. Out. This or as you know, you might remember, 30 press-ups, 30 Marvin Aglers.
Pancake. 30 press-ups. If you don't follow the you don't listen, you still got to do them.
Yeah. And if you don't listen, or if you do something wrong, or if you didn't listen to the instruction because you just kind of and me, as much, if you're late, if you log on late, whether it's a tech, and again, it says it's not because I don't like you or because I want to punish you. It's because you're late. You need to warm up quickly. But at the same time, next time you won't be late, because doing 30 press-ups, just as it's quite tough.
Yeah. So the old school style is still there.
Yeah. Oh, it's very, very old school, and I like it. It's not old school. We shouldn't call it old school. We should call it real school.
Right. Okay. And another word on your instructor. He was trained directly from a Korean.
So his first instructor was he's gonna kill me if I don't remember his name, but he's from down from the General Choi, who's the founder of the International Federation. He started as an ITF a student, and then moved on to WT. A military man, couldn't speak a word of English, just a few words of English. So all the training was in Korean. So we learned Korean as well, actually. Part of your training, you have to learn the commands and the techniques in Korean, parts of the body, that sort of things. And basically, that's how he got taught. So he said, like, for instance, his instructor would say, I think you know his instructor. What's his name? Ricky Ha, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah. I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
Or connected with, or directly. I can't remember.
Okay.
But basically, his instructor would be, okay, you failed your grading. Didn't say why. Just go and learn. Just find out why what you did wrong and work on it. You need to learn a new pattern. Go and ask him and learn.
Right. Okay.
In those times, you didn't have internet and YouTube videos to practice. So, yeah, tough training, very unforgiving. But and like again, as a setback, imagine my instructors my instructor was Mark Richardson was training to be. He was, I think, in the selection for the Olympics sometime in the 80s. And he would generally completely smash his opponent really quickly, but he mislanded on his ankle and completely broke his ankle. Finished his match. There was no kind of stop it. Oh, poor you. Finished his match, but after that, just lost his opportunity to. He was with the reconstructive surgery, etc. He just could not. So he missed his opportunity to go to the Olympics. Setback, but what happened? He completely again reoriented himself, because his Taekwondo was his life, and he became this amazing instructor.
Okay, well,
for her benefit.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? It's been really great, this conversation about, and I've learned stuff that I never knew before, and things like that. Just finally, because as you know or may not know, I'm not so much into goals. I'm more into a systems approach, because I think when you have a goal and you reach that goal, it's almost as if you reach the end, but you have goals along the way of, you know, that you reach, and you've got to second dan now. Can you tell us a bit about what the future holds now? I mean, any ambitions going forward? Where do you think you might end up? Do you see yourself, for example, running a club, or what
Yeah.
you know?
My aim, yes. I mean, there's some certain hoops I have to go through first before I can run a club by myself. You have to be, I think, at least the third dan. And obviously, the more you do, the more years there are in between the dans. So now, you know, between the second and third dan, it should be 3 years. Between the third and the fourth should be 4 years. So that's 7 years down the line, etc. So 3, you know, whatever. You understand what I mean? So my aim is now I feel much more comfortable as a black belt. I'm more established. Now it's the beginning, as I said earlier, the beginning of the mastery, where you become a master slowly. So you learn the technique of more techniques, more in-depth technique, but it's also more about how to teach those techniques, as well as learning the new ones. But how do you teach the younger ones, your juniors? How do you explain to them? You know, I've always loved teaching, so I know eventually I've already done like some you know, ad hoc classes here and there with friends or with teenagers, but beyond that, because I've learned this and I've had the blessings of being able to do it, to learn this, I feel I have a responsibility now. It's not just for me. It really isn't. And for a long time anyway, it was in my head that the aim would be at some point I would teach it. But I have now been given a legacy. And there's a point where, sadly, I don't want to think about it, but there'll be a point where my instructor will retire. You know, he'll want to retire. He'll continue always. You know, it's one of like academics. They never really stop. But he might not be as involved on the day-to-day training. And that will be my repaying his time for me by teaching the new juniors certain things, what I'm good at, all the technical stuff. That's my thing. I want to learn more about self-defense as well, because I know that women and girls, if they come to a class like this, they will want to know about self-defense. They will not want to know someone grabs me, what do I do? Someone's pulling my hijab, what do I do? So this is the kind of thing that now I'm going to specialize in with his help, but also there's a lot of specific videos, just self-defense for women, that I'm watching to learn. And I need to learn how to teach that. So yeah, definitely there will be a club, and I have a long list of people waiting for me to say yes, but it's not going to happen now anyway. But some people have asked me to do it online. They say we don't care now because everybody's used to learning online. I do my Pilates classes online now as well. So yeah, it's going to happen, inshallah, but not right now. I need to be patient, learn more, and so yeah, hopefully.
So that's a good point to end there, because you've left on a note there with Pilates, and we haven't even touched on that, and that's something for another conversation. But I think it's really great what you've just said regarding about things that could happen, and that's why I think the system is so important, because when you have a system following the systems approach, you're open to whatever might come up. If you have goals, then you could be more narrowed, and you might miss certain things happening, sort of, you know, that might come along your way. So you mentioned self-defense classes, you know, you're thinking about other people. So we hope, inshallah, that, you know, you continue on your path and you have great success. And I mean, I've enjoyed talking with you, and this is really good. And I hope anybody watches it, you know, will get inspiration from that. You certainly inspired me in certain way. Maybe I might make another comeback at some stage. But yeah, from myself, I'd like to congratulate you on reaching your achievement, becoming a black belt. And I'm sure on behalf of all our viewers as well, I'd like to congratulate you on your achievement, and send your my best wishes also to your daughter and all the family on your achievement.
Thank you. Gamsa Hamnida.
Huh?
Gamsa Hamnida, which means thank you in Korean.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay. All right, so we'll
Thank you.
again. We'll talk again.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe and keep a lookout for our next episode. We'd also love to hear your feedback, so please leave your thoughts and comments in the section below.